So for anyone who's been hidden under a rock for the whole of summer, can you introduce yourself for the camera?
So I'm Charlie Brake, and I have literally just come out of the Love Island villa, and I was in there for about just under 3 weeks, and yeah, it has been a bit of a whirlwind, and I'm here with the lovely Emma today.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Quite warm Emma rather than lovely.
Warm Emma.
So I'm Emma. I'm 35. I live in London, and we have something in common that actually people probably wouldn't expect. And that thing is Parkinson's, because you've got a Parkinson's story, haven't you?
Exactly.
So I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 29, which was 5 years ago. Quite young for Parkinson's, but there's actually quite a lot of us, which is quite unusual.
Yeah.
But what's your story with Parkinson's? What does
So
Parkinson's
yeah,
do?
my story is, so my grandmother, Evelyn, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I think, around the age of 50.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite a young diagnosis, but
It is,
obviously,
I think, yeah.
is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're 29, or were 29, yeah. So she was diagnosed with it at the age of 50, and as a young boy, I always remember that I was being told that you need to be careful around grandma. You can't be shouting because it starts her shaking, and obviously, as a young boy, you don't really understand like why, what's going on. So yeah, she's had that for over 20 years now. Well, look, what is it now? Must be 29 years, getting on 21 years. And yeah, so for grandma, she visibly shakes.
Yeah.
She shakes. That's the most obviously the most visible.
Yeah.
But now she's really suffering with the dementia side of it. And I think obviously with Parkinson's, people don't really realise that. Obviously, shaking is the most visible one, so people just generally associate that as the one symptom.
Yeah.
But it's you've got the dementia and
There's actually, I think, around 40 plus symptoms that actually are associated, and I could probably name about 5, and I've got it.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, not everyone has tremor as well, and I think
It's the least common, isn't it?
I think it's like
right?
70% of people who have tremor. So
Right.
there's still like 30%
really? Okay.
that have stiffness and stuff, which
Right.
is, I think, in a way harder. I'm kind of glad of my tremor a little bit because actually it shows there's something wrong.
Right.
And
Okay.
it sounds like a weird thing to say.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that.
If you saw me in the street and you thought, why is she kind of struggling? Why she stopped in front of me on the tube?
Mm.
If you saw I was shaking, you might know there was something wrong. Whereas if I just stopped dead and I'm not,
Just freeze.
yeah, then it's harder, I think.
Yeah, that was the same with grandma. Actually, we didn't joke about it. But it was almost like we need to go and basically wind grandma up and get her going. Do you know what I mean? Like a toy soldier. But yeah, so that was another thing. She always used to freeze, and then we'd have to almost just give her almost like a little push, and then off she went again.
That's quite sweet that you got involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, from an early age, it was obviously things have really progressed, and it's got to the point now I can't really have conversations with her. And again, I think that is obviously down to the dementia.
Before that kicked in, did you guys use humour to kind of? I know kind of myself and my friends, we tend to kind of use humour as a family to kind of deal with it. Was that ever something you managed to do, or has it always been quite hard?
I think no, as a family, as a unit, we've almost not laughed it off, but tried to make it as or make her feel as I don't know, not as normal as possible, but as do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Do you know what I mean? Like again with like the toy soldiers sort of thing, would be like, right, can someone go and wind grandma up again, and off she went again. So no, we didn't necessarily. I didn't find it sad. I didn't, but obviously now seeing her with her dementia, and for me it's quite difficult to actually remember what it was like having grandma, like having conversations with her, that kind of thing. So that's definitely that's a tough side of it.
Yeah, it does sound really difficult. So when you kind of heard that I had Parkinson's, and you kind of obviously realised that I was a younger person, or did you think I was older until you met me today?
No, because obviously you said 20. I actually thought you were 29. I actually thought you were 29, but obviously 35.
Yeah. Did you know younger people could get Parkinson's?
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't know. I mean, obviously you could probably tell me the youngest age that someone has had Parkinson's.
I know personally, I know someone who was 8 when he was diagnosed.
Really?
From his handwriting. I mean, all children's handwriting is terrible at that age. There's a huge community that just pull each other through it. It's a really kind of powerful thing. I think in the sort of younger ones of us anyway, we work together a lot to kind of try and raise awareness, but also we're there for each other. And he's definitely, of that community, one of the youngest I know. There's also a gentleman who is just finished university, and he's just gone through university with it. So you can imagine going through university with Parkinson's.
Yeah, tough.
Everyone's out drinking, and really tricky. I mean, I kind of find it hard enough now having a social life and Parkinson's. The two don't really go hand in hand. But
so what is that like? So for you to go on, I don't know, a night out or you go out for some dinner, how easy is that?
Dinner at the moment is a bit stressful. My neck is a completely separate thing. It's actually not Parkinson's related. It's a prolapse disc, which is a bit frustrating. Yeah, I kind of managed to do that to myself as well as having Parkinson's.
So that's got nothing to do with the shakes or anything?
It's just an added bonus. So dinner for that is a challenge. But before I had that, when I just had Parkinson's, dinner is kind of sometimes embarrassing because you might kind of clatter your forks and things like that, and your cutlery. I was at a wedding recently and actually almost ended up doing a speech because I put my glass down and put my own spoon next to it and did the bad that you do when you're about to do a speech, which is a bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
So things like that happen. It's kind of a bit awkward, but also people can choke and things like that. You have to be really careful.
Oh,
So
really?
you have to kind of make sure you're chewing properly. And luckily, you can drink alcohol. I find I can drink
Yeah,
alcohol,
luckily.
which makes it a lot better.
Does that reduce any of the shaking? Or?
Different for every person, maybe
Really?
only temporarily, but
Right,
the next day you
next day,
definitely suffer.
you feel it, yeah.
But kind of nights out and things, you obviously kind of get more tired. I find I can stay awake a lot longer. I have insomnia, so I can probably out party most of my friends and staying up stakes, but actually drinking and stuff, no way. I can't kind of keep up with them on that sort of level anymore. So it's quite a difficult balance to kind of, hen weekends and things like that can be quite stressful.
Yeah.
So
No, I bet.
I do try to do as much as I can socially.
No, it's
I
good.
think it's really important to kind of keep your friends, your friends that aren't Parkinson's friends necessarily, because
Yeah.
you end up, your life could be all about Parkinson's if you're not careful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, okay.
So if I said the word Parkinson's to you, what would immediately come to mind? What kind of words would come to mind immediately?
For me personally, it would be shakes. Straight away, shakes. I sort of know the definition of it. It's along the lines of it's a loss of nerve cells, isn't it, in the brain?
Yeah, it's dopamine.
Dopamine.
It's the kind of the pleasure chemical. So you're basically battling against everything that kind of makes you happy, really. It's you suddenly can struggle with things like apathy, depression, and things like that on top.
Right.
It's kind of, but also dopamine is kind of responsible for all the muscle control and
So it regulates the
temperature
body's
control,
movement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of responsible for so many different things that you just wouldn't believe that it's this one chemical that's responsible for that. So.
Yeah. So are you able to work?
Yeah, I work. Yeah, so I work probably more than I've ever worked. I basically a couple of years ago, when I sort of got through the diagnosis, basically realised that I wanted to say yes to everything that I got offered.
Yeah,
Which has
I think
led
so.
me
You
down
should.
some
Yeah.
ridiculous garden paths. So just some weird situations thrown at me. So I work, but I also try and do as much other fun stuff as I possibly can.
Okay.
So I try and take time off to go and do some adventures and stuff. So I went on a tall ship last year. I went and did this camping thing in the woods where it was like a survival adventure.
Oh wow.
Real stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Somehow we didn't die. I don't know how. It's a miracle. But
No, I think in life that's what you've got to do. I think again going back to the whole Love Island thing, I was very unsure whether it was a good idea, whether to go out and do that. And I'm single and 7 to 8 weeks in Mallorca in a nice villa surrounded by girls sounded pretty good. So I was like, well, yeah, we'll come in and have an interview. So I had a couple of interviews, and sure enough, I think it was early May. I got the phone call saying, we'd like to come in and be a bombshell.
But you had some reservations about it.
Yeah, I had reservations just in the sense that people are going to see into your whole life now.
Yeah.
I didn't quite think it would be as much as it is now. So yeah.
So you're 23 now, is that right?
I am, yeah.
I feel really old. So if you were me, in 6 years' time, you're about to be diagnosed with Parkinson's.
29.
Yeah. So I didn't have any kind of foresight on that, but what do you have kind of in your mind's eye? What do you reckon you'd be doing when you're 29? And do you reckon Parkinson's will stop you from doing that?
That's a tough question.
I told you it'd be tough.
I mean, where do I see even in 5 years, where would I see myself? 5 years time, how would I be in 5 years? So 28, so...
That's so depressing.
I don't know, I'd like to be, I've always said this, I'd like to be a young dad. So yeah, whether around the age of 28, 29, that's when I'd sort of be looking to maybe have a child. That's such a difficult question.
See, I know a couple of guys who were diagnosed just as their kind of partners were giving birth around that time, or
Really?
they've got children already, and it's quite a difficult, because it's quite a physical thing, isn't it? I mean, especially for the woman, but it's for for the man, it's, you know, there's a lot of kind of just lifting and general sort of, you know, staying up and helping with the feeds and things like that. But actually, Parkinson's can make it quite difficult. And I don't think Parkinson stops you from doing anything if you put your mind to it. You can really sort of, it just, everything takes a bit longer. And kids can be quite demanding on, you know, things having to be done now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
They're not kind of quite forgiving of, you know, off moments or.
So how do they go about it? How do they handle it?
They've had to be quite honest with their children, I think, and sort of almost their kids have grown up knowing that, you know, Daddy has Parkinson's, and but I've got kind of friends who, you know, their kids have missed exams because their Parkinson's has been so bad that they've not been able to drive them, and then they've turned up at the school and their Parkinson's has been better, and the teachers have kind of said to them, "Are you okay? What's the problem? Why have the kids missed the exams?" And that's the problem with Parkinson's; it can just be so different from minute to minute.
It's just so stop-start. I mean, I remember with Grandma, it was 1 minute she'd be absolutely fine, and we'd be, I don't know, on the tennis court and just playing catch or whatever, and then all of a sudden it was just can't do it now. Just she'd stop and freeze, and it'd be like, well, what's going on with Mum? As a kid, you don't really understand it. Don't.
I think that's the most frustrating thing. There's a lot of frustrating things about Parkinson's, but I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things is that as someone, you know, who still works or, you know, tries to do stuff and go out and see friends, and I'm single, so I'm dating, which is, you know, something you kind of understand that you want to kind of show your best side.
Yeah.
And if I'm kind of, you know, I can get ready for a date and sort of feel like I'm looking good and everything, and then turn up and the minute I get there, just Parkinson's
like
kicks
that.
in. And I go from being someone who feels like they're in control to someone who can barely speak, who's shaky, who's.
Do things like nerves bring it on, or is it?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it really doesn't help.
Really.
Really doesn't help. So, you know, things like if I'm trying to get to a meeting or somewhere and I'm on my phone, my tremor kicks in because I'm like panicking about getting there.
Right.
And then trying to use maps on your phone with the tremor is like you're booking taxis by mistake. It's chaos. And
so even like texting now, would you find that?
I do a lot of voice dictation.
Right, I've got you.
But I mean, there's certain things you don't want to dictate.
Exactly.
But I think, you know, it's quite difficult. And it's also those moments where you feel like there's kind of a time critical moment when someone's messaged you something and if they're having a go at you or they need an answer quickly and you're like all fingers and thumbs. It can be really frustrating.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. So do you date at all?
Yeah, I
lately,
do. And it's quite difficult because I think I have on my online profile that I have Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Which is something I wanted to talk to you actually because you sort of when you went into the house on the island you didn't really tell anyone straight away that you were kind of full of money.
Yeah.
And you said that's because you wanted people to get to know you for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of the same with Parkinson's in a way. I'm not kind of associating the two things as being the same because obviously I think people would probably want money but not want Parkinson's so much. But actually there's difficult things that come with having kind of people having preconceptions of you.
No, exactly.
And if you want people to get to know you, the real you, sometimes you have to kind of strip that back. And I think I'm really honest, so like on Tinder and things I have Parkinson's, but I kind of put a positive slant on it and say that, you know, people can ask me anything they want to know about it. And people do.
Yeah.
But I kind of have problems with people getting too attached to me too quickly. They'll kind of watch my TED Talks and things like that and feel like they know me, and then they kind of come and meet me and then they kind of run off, and it's like, it can be incredibly difficult to kind of date with a long-term health condition because you're putting yourself out there and you're incredibly vulnerable. Maybe even more, it's quite a horrible situation for anyone, I think, sometimes to kind of put yourself out there like that, especially on something like Tinder where it's very kind of visual.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But
No,
I've had people sort of say that my photos are from before my head was like this, and it's very difficult to get a picture across of who you are at that point in time. It's hard to get Parkinson's across in an image because it's a shape, and you know that's actually not something you can see unless I put like motion blur on my hands or something.
Video or something. Yeah, exactly.
And it's so I think I've had kind of people say to me they feel like they've been conned or lied to, and I'm like,
really?
I didn't mean to deceive you, and I told you I had Parkinson's, but it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm sure.
Your kind of experience of dating, do you kind of tell people before you went in the house? Do you kind of try and keep it a secret?
The thing is with that, it's not me. It's like, okay, I've got a nice family background and they did very well, but it's trying to. I never say, oh, this is me and I've done this and I've done really well.
Yeah.
I never, and that was one of my main worries going into the villa. It was I don't want to come across as something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And that was one big thing I was worried about coming out of the villa. And yeah, I just went in there and I was myself. Do you know what I mean? So I wasn't trying to hide or pretend to be something that I wasn't.
Well, I feel like you sort of came across on there the same as you're coming across now, the same as, you know, when you messaged me on WhatsApp the other day, you kind of you're very consistent, which is nice to see across your interviews and things as well. So you showed the same person, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously you said the point that I not that you didn't say I wasn't up front, but obviously I didn't.
Oh no, I didn't mean it kind of.
No, I know. No, but with the whole thing, I was not trying to hide my background, but just wanted to, almost get to know someone, just be me.
Yeah.
It was nice going in there, and you can almost have like a clean slate. No one knows you, not reinvent yourself, but you just go in there and you are you.
Yeah.
Which was nice, and then obviously come out with a girlfriend now.
Yeah,
which is it's crazy. You go in there for 3 weeks, and in real time, if that had been 3 weeks in the real world, obviously I would not have been asking her to be my girlfriend. But in there, you're spending 24/7 with each other. You're sharing a bed. What are you doing? You're making each other coffee. You're just chilling. You live together. Yeah, completely. I mean, in those 3 weeks, if I'd been in the real world, it'd have been, I don't know, you might have seen them maybe twice a week for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Whereas in there, it's a whole different ball game. It's unbelievable.
Because obviously you sort of come out now, and then everyone sort of starts asking questions about marriage and children and stuff like that, because it's quite an intense situation. So your relationship is kind of accelerated almost. I've kind of had the same with stuff in the past, because I'm so eager to kind of get things done in like a period of time that I can do them well.
Yeah.
I have to be really careful not to kind of run before I can walk.
I mean, it's strange coming out of the villa, because now it's almost like slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting some time to myself. I'm doing things that I want to be doing, and obviously Ellie's doing the same. So like she'll go up to Newcastle, and I'll be down in London. And it's nice to have that sort of time away. And it's almost like with the relationship, it gets better, because by being away from each other, you start to miss each other.
Yeah.
Whereas in the villa, it sounds bad, but I didn't miss her.
You're
not going to miss her, because I was with her all the time.
And you don't have any sort of news to talk about, because you're both seeing the same things, witnessing the same things.
That's the other thing. It's not like you've run out of things to say, but in the villa, obviously, it's just so confined, and you're just closed off from everything. It's not like, oh, Eddie, let's go out for some dinner tonight, or let's go and see the show, or let's just go and do normal things. You're not doing that. So coming out of the villa, it's slowed down, but also it's progressed, if that makes any sense, because you're just doing normal things as a couple. It's been a whirlwind. It has.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I did a documentary a couple of years ago, and that was something a lot smaller, and life off the back of it just got really weird, like in a good way. But just suddenly my inbox was full of interesting things, and I got kind of excited about opening my email all the time.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot quieter. I'm like, where's the good emails?
Yeah, I'm sure that happened to me as well, without a doubt. Obviously, at the moment, it's very busy, and obviously it's all just off the back of Love Island.
Yeah.
Whereas that will all die down. So now I'm at the point where I need to try and find what I want to do now in life.
Yeah.
Which obviously using my platform and getting involved in charities and helping people that are my age and obviously all sorts of ages, and then trying to find something that I want to do in business as well. So there's lots going on, but charity at the moment is definitely high on the priority list.
That's really good. That's nice to hear. I think charity is a really interesting one. I think kind of the younger generations, and I'm sounding really old saying the younger generations there with you.
I'm 35.
I make myself sound really old. Okay, the younger generations, including me, let's say that, are actually more into kind of giving. I've noticed the kind of that kind of generation, the startup generation, more into giving, which is really, really great, because the charity relies so heavily on sort of people doing all sorts of things, from sort of running marathons to all sorts. You ran the marathon for us, didn't you?
I did.
I've seen photos, but I normally do the cheer team at the side, but I don't think I was around that year.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, there was
bashing something.
Yeah, there was a few around, and that definitely helped doing the marathon. You just had, obviously, I didn't know the people that were cheering me on, but obviously when they see you in the turquoise pants,
start screaming people's
and
names.
it really does push you on. It definitely does. And yeah, it was 100% one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It was also the hottest ever marathon ever recorded.
Oh God.
So yeah, it was hard, but well worth it when you come across that finish line. And yeah, I teared up. I was like, I just can't believe I did that. And like you think of like grandma back at home, and obviously she doesn't necessarily know that I've done the marathon for her, but I came back home and gave her the medal and all of that. So yeah, no, it was really great, and yeah, I managed to raise some money as well. So that was unbelievable. And yeah, now I'm doing the half marathon as well, I believe.
Are you kind of physical kind of kind of exercise and stuff really important to you? Do you reckon, you know, that's probably something I think if you, going back to that question that I said about, you know, if you were diagnosed in sort of 5 years, 6 years time from now, I think kind of what you've said, I think probably maybe that would be one of the things that you probably find hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sport has been a hobby of mine. Back at school, I had a sports scholarship, and then I went to a very sporty school. Been fortunate enough to be able to ski since the age of 5. So yeah, sport is definitely a big factor in my life. I mean, when I left secondary school, that sort of aspect disappeared, and it was more like just going out socialising and not discovering girls, but yeah, do you know what I mean? Going out and just basically partying. And yeah, I got into some real bad shape, and yeah, it was about 2 years ago. Two years ago, I lost about 13 kilos. I managed to find my love of sport again. So gym is, and then I'm a qualified personal trainer as well now. So yeah, sport is definitely a big thing for me. And yeah, going to the gym, and you just feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you said, I mean, 29, if I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I wouldn't necessarily know how that would affect me. I mean, are you able to exercise at all?
A lot of people use exercise to help kind of balance it. It's kind of considered another medication almost in some senses. But you can almost become to the point that you kind of exercise too much. You can get kind of addictions with Parkinson's. The medication can cause addiction, and it's, you know, one of the things people sometimes get is actually kind of an addiction to the chemicals you get from exercising. You get dopamine from it, so it's sort of, you can get really kind of over the top about it. But if you balance it and you kind of eat right, you sleep right, and you exercise right, you can really help balance your symptoms.
Right. Okay.
So not saying that Parkinson's would stop you from doing any of those things, but they'll probably be a little bit harder. Things like skiing might be a bit more difficult. You're kind of trying to control
two planks on your feet. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I remember Grandma. She goes to or she used to go to those Parkinson's like exercise days or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah, they do kind of have kind of groups and stuff that you can go to, and you can kind of do exercises. There's a lot around boxing at the moment being quite interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's also this other kind of exercise programs. So there's loads of things around that. So my job is actually looking at kind of devices and apps for people with Parkinson's and technology, and kind of how technology can help people live a life they want to live, really, and still do the things they want to do. And there's a lot of apps around kind of tracking your movement that, you know, naturally you can kind of download anyway and wear kind of a Fitbit or something like that. So there's loads of things like that, but there's loads of apps for kind of exercise as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, technology I think is the kind of future of Parkinson's, yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for it to help kind of balance our symptoms.
Yeah.
Because the medication actually causes so many side effects in some cases that it's almost as bad as the condition itself.
Right. Okay. So you work alongside with these apps. Is that what you do?
Yeah. So I'm working for Parkinson's UK, actually doing that at the moment.
Wow.
Kind of creating a library of apps that are safe for people to use.
Oh wow. Amazing.
But, yeah, it's a really good project. We're kind of working on it. Quite groundbreaking. No one else is doing it at the moment. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Is that something donations go to help sort of research those things? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of another strand. So I know that some people are really interested in the kind of research side of things. Other people are more excited about the kind of tech side, so we kind of take donations on both so that we can kind of build both those sides. But I think people definitely have an interest in sort of one or the other, so it's nice for people to be able to get involved in. I think tech is quite tangible, you can see a difference quite quickly.
Yeah.
Research is fantastic, but there's maybe a longer sort of win on it.
Right.
You might have to kind of wait a bit longer to see the results of the sort of the donation you've made, but I think some of our funders are finding it's quite interesting to see the results of their kind of the money they put into tech. So yeah, it's really interesting.
No, that'd be interesting to see, definitely.
So thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. Really appreciate it, and thank you for your support of Parkinson's UK. It's a fantastic charity, one that I'm really proud to kind of be a part of. So we're kind of glad to have you as part of the family.
Yeah, no, vice versa. Thank you very much for having me, and yeah, I'll keep you updated on the half marathon.
Yeah, do. Make sure you know where it is and where you're
going.
going.
Yeah, exactly. I'll try. But I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, Emma.